Welcome everybody to our weekly Dead Fireside. We will be discussing the end of Arc 3, TNG. Tomorrow begins Arc 4, the August arc. Hopefully we'll get the Enterprise D this time. But I am scared to venture any guess considering how royally wrong I was last month. We will also be discussing McLovin and bullying and trolling and how best to combat those, as well as our new code of conduct. And we'll be doing your questions and answers and talking about the Meridian and deep space mining. If there's any other things, I'm sure they will come right up. Raise your hands if anyone wants to come on up to the stage. Right now we are pleased to have Danny, Black Widow, and Drift.
Hey, y'all.
So, how'd you guys enjoy the Arc 3 with the Meridian? It's a nice ship, I think. It's definitely a fast miner. I love the refine on it, and the way for people without territories or people with limited particles to be able to get different particles. And yes, the protected cargo sucks, but given everyone's kind of creating deals with each other to protect OPL on Isogen, I mean, I was able to mine 2 million ISO 2 today and 1 million ISO 1 without a problem. So I don't see it being a huge deal. And I know some people were questioning the wisdom of putting warp 90, 95 on the Meridian. There's a couple caveats to that, though, that you have to be level 39 to even be able to get it that high, and it's expensive to repair once you get it past tier 5. And that when you go and do that, it's not really about the mining in deep space. It's about the availability that you could mine in deep space, that you can actually go and reach systems that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to reach with a regular miner. A faction miner, to get it to tier 9 is ridiculous with the amount of materials you need. So considering this is a lot cheaper to build up, especially when you're getting into G4 materials, even G4 materials, it is cheaper than, say, a faction miner. The other issue is, of course, if you happen to have your base in deep space, you can then go and send your Meridian back to your territory to mine Isogen. So there are some nice points to that, but it's definitely safe to say this is a ship made for low-level players to be able to mine Isogen faster. Whales, those level 50 players and whatnot, those ships already mine so fast that the Meridian is just something extra for them to get even more. But this is mainly made for the regular players to be able to get their ISO faster. It's also made for the pirates to get their OPL faster, because Scopely loves that PvP.
Yeah.
But please, tell me your...
I haven't had a problem with getting OPL hunted so far. I think I've gotten hit once since using it.
Nice.
Yeah. I try and keep an eye on it.
Did you buy the skin?
No, not yet. What's the benefit of the skin?
But is the skin still available for you?
Let me check.
Alright. The difference with the skin, and I know there's been a lot of confusion here, so let me put it out there. Once you get the ship, which was free with this battle pass if you completed the battle pass. Once you get the ship, it unlocks a special refinery in the territory refinery tab at the very end of it, where it go just like the Vidar, the cost and the yield increases with every tier of your ship. And what this gives is resin for the new research, and gives you a guarantee of the main 3 particles with a chance of the Matreon particle.
Yeah, because I get that now without the skin, and the skin is still available in the store.
Yes. All right, that's good. What the skin does is the skin gives you an extra refinery. And the best way to think about this extra refinery is it's like prime refinery once you get into the 30s. When you get to 30, you have an option of getting a prime refinery, which will increase your refined chest. So if it starts off at 1 chest is 8,000, 2 chests is 12,000, 3 chests is 75,000. Prime refinery changes that to 2, 3, and 4 chests. And that costs $100 for the gas, $100 for the ore, and $100 for the crystal. The skin, which is only $20, it'll add a chest to whatever you have on your 1, 2, 3 isogen, all of it. But instead of it adding the chest number to whatever you were already refining, it's adding an additional chest option at double the cost of the previous chest. So if, say you have a territory and you have the bonus refinery, you're getting 2 chests of ISO 1 for, say, 2 ISO, 3 chests for 3 ISO, 4 this is going to give you a third option of 4 chests for 6 ISO. So it's going to be a little more expensive, but what they're banking on is the fact that the ship is going to help you mine so much that increased cost isn't going to be as effective. It isn't going to be as much of an issue for you. And on top of that, you're going to be getting so much more isogen that it's worth it. Remember, ISO 1 is going to give you the biggest payout. So if I go and do a max refine of ISO, so ISO 1 is going to give you just shy of 10,000 ISO emulsion to a max refine. ISO 2 is going to give you about 6,600, or just shy of 7,000 ISO emulsion per day. ISO 3 is going to give you even less than that. So ISO 1 is the big one. It's going to give you the most. You know, it's going to give you more than 2 and 3 combined. Make sure, though, when you go and do that, the new refinery for the resin and the particles, don't do the max refine on that. Do the 1 chest. Because that will get you. You need to do so much ISO emulsion for your territory research tree, and depending on how high you want to make your Meridian, you're going to need a lot of ISO emulsion for that as well. Because you need that for every single component. That if you do a max refine on the particles, that's actually going to take everything you just refined from the ISO 1 and ISO 2 in a day. Because it's going to cost about $15,000 in a day. Now, this is proportional to my level. I'm not sure what it is at your levels, but I think it's going to be fairly proportional. So definitely don't do that max.
Yeah, I've just been doing the first or second pull, depending on what I have available. I'll be honest, I haven't been mining with that sucker at all. I built it, got the skin, and it's parked collecting dust.
I mean, you should. I mean, I have 2 of them, both of them at tier 5. The only thing I put on them at tier 5 was the cargo, the warp drive, and the mining laser. And I think, just the fact that I can mine an entire node, basically 600,000 ISO 2 in 30 to 45 minutes, depending on my crew setup, is just a time saver.
I was going to explore that when I actually had time to just babysit it and then see how it goes. But I just haven't, so that's why I haven't.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it, especially if no one's really hitting. That's why it's important to try and make these deals with the big alliances to avoid each other on like ISO 1 and 2, make deals with each other for ISO 3. I mean, like I said, ISO 3 isn't a huge, because I mean, if I want to do a max refine for ISO 3, so if I want to do a max refine for ISO 3, that's like 1.1 million ISO 3. That's a ridiculous amount considering I'm not even getting as much as I would for the ISO 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's really not even worth it. That's why I don't even care about it. The ISO 1 is the most important, and the ISO 2 is very good to have. But max refine for the ISO 2 is 500,000 a day.
Wow.
So it's important if you want to be able to get like a lot every day, so like about 15,000 a day or so, which adds up rather quickly. It's important to mine as much as you can. You don't want to spend all day, every day mining, though. So that's where, like I said, if you're doing 300,000 every 45 minutes to an hour, and you need 500,000, 2 hours of mining, you can get that out of the way. It's a lot nicer to think about that than when you're mining G3 or G4 materials. A 2 chests full of G4 materials is 100,000. Nodes in deep space are 100,000, and that can take about 4 hours to refine. So if you think about it that way, 4 hours versus 1 or 2 hours, it's no-brainer almost.
True. It's all about what's a priority.
Exactly.
Well, I guess we'll see what they give us more ISO events for the next arc.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there will be. In fact, I really hope that they add Isogen to Mining Monday.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I think that would make everyone so happy. They need to add Isogen to Mining Monday. They need to add board probes to the daily events so that you can do that as part of your daily, like swarms.
They need to give us that weekly bonus token to turn in for the monthly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So what I've been doing is I'll take an afternoon that I do a bunch of ISO mining, and I'll take 3 ships. I'll do 2 regular Horizons, and then I'll put my Meridian out there too. So if my Meridian gets blown up, like, I'm still getting ISO mining done, and I'll just put the Meridian back out there. And that 9 times out of 10, it doesn't get hit. And I make sure I'm over 1 million ISO most of the time. I'm a little under right now, but I'll do the full. I got the skin, so I do the full 3 chests, or what is it, 4 chests actually, for the ISO 1, and I do the middle pull for the ISO 2, and I'm still bottlenecked on ISO emulsion. Like I still need it to do my efficiency research for this level. So
yeah, efficiency research is very important.
So they're making it so you almost have to at this point to keep up. Otherwise, you're going to be way behind on that research.
Yeah, I try to keep about 2 million of each going at all times, and I still have some. So
that's pretty good. But you don't have the skin?
Oh, I bought the skin too.
Oh, okay. Are you doing the full pulls?
I'm doing 1 or 2.
Okay.
I'm just doing smaller because I'm also at 32 still. So
All right.
I'm
You've
catching
only
up,
done-
but I figure I can build it up slowly in the meantime.
Yeah.
I'm moving up to 34 or 33 at least soon, and 34 within the next couple months.
Yeah, I'm doing the run as fast as I can to 39 plan. Because from what I've seen, like, rewards go up exponentially. And Cook put some screenshot ups. He just went up to 40, and things look pretty good up there too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I hit 40, and it was something that I was highly debating doing, because I actually sped it up quicker than I expected to. But what I like to be the little guinea pig for the Alliance, so I've been sending all the 39s and the 35 up screenshots of every single event and pack and everything that changes at level 40, because everything kind of goes from G3 to G4. But one thing to note is that a lot of like the packs and stuff, they stay the same, but they just add the G4 stuff to it, which is interesting. I find it really interesting that a lot of the stuff that was shown, it still wasn't giving you a lot of dilithium, and you need dilithium like crazy. I mean, I went to unlock my first G4 research today, and it needed 60 million dilithium. I don't have 60 million dilithium. I used all my dilithium up on my jelly. And if you go and look at the packs, those packs in there that'll give 1.2 or 1.4 billion titanium, or they'll give 9 billion steel, but nothing that will give more than, say, 10 million dilithium.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like, well, what's the point of it? If you can't do the efficiency research to keep going because of the dilithium, why keep going on those things? It makes no sense. But I will say that the research I had to do to unlock that G4 research was one I never thought about, was something that I could have done at level 30, and I just scoffed at and never did until I realized yesterday that I needed to do it in order to do G4 research for my station. And that is, if you look on your research tree, on your station tree, and you see all the resource fortification and warehousing and refining and storage and security, that entire segment there that leads into defense strategy. You have to unlock defense strategy in order to do the G4 station research. And like I said,
all you had to do was like level 30. And I just never did it because I didn't think anything about it.
Dad, your Bluetooth sucks. You just went in the store, didn't you?
No, I just got out of my car.
Oh, it's so much better. Oh my god.
Yep.
We're just gonna have to cut the whole beginning of that show.
Yeah. Fuck you, Drift.
It's so bad until you just get out of your car. Oh my god, it's so much better. You're talking about station research, right?
Yeah, he's talking about the parasteel stockpile, the
all the parasteel
stockpile.
Oh, that sucks. Because I haven't done any of that stuff.
Yeah, neither have I. I wonder how many people have ignored that.
I stopped at partial holding, and I didn't even do that one.
Same here.
Wow. I've maxed out all my research except for I'm catching up on the Stella right now, the particles.
I maxed out most of my research, but that little bit I just never thought anything about because I was like,
because you don't use the stuff. You don't use your pumps at all. Like they're useless when you get up into your 30s and stuff.
Well, they're useless from the very beginning of the game.
Yeah, so some people are running their generators, and
there's a lot of useless stuff in the game, but I've learned that there's always something cool if it's not out already that's going to open up in the research as you move up.
Yeah.
Well, that's true, but at the same time, I was always like, I don't want to waste my materials, my ore, my gas, and my crystal on partial security.
Yeah, and even defense strategy, like use bubbles. Who cares? I mean, I thought about that. All this stuff. I was like, I'm not going to need it, but apparently now you do.
I said the same thing because
I tried that in my 20s, and then I kept having to get back to it. So I was like, you know what? It's better to just flesh it out and move on.
Yep.
No, I wanted to complete it all too, and I completed probably a good 96% of my research before I went to 40. But that was part of that 4% that I just didn't give two shits about, didn't think anything about. Because it's also, if you look on that tree, it's nowhere near the G4 stuff.
Right, and it all uses materials.
Well, that's the thing. This stuff's like in the middle of the tree. And then at the very end, once you get to level 40 and the stuff opens up, then you can go and see, oh, hey, wow, there's all this stuff here. Oh, my God, I have to unlock this research from, like, level 30 to do this.
And do you have to go all the way up to 10?
No, just level 1. That's it.
Oh, that's not so bad.
No, but, I mean, it was still a good, like, 500 materials of each.
Yeah.
Uncommon.
It's still worth going to 39 first and backfilling because.
Oh yeah. Because you're still gonna have. Well, and also you're gonna use the research for mitigating all that stuff. You're still gonna have research material and research resource efficiency researches that you can do to lower the cost of all those.
Right.
And basically, if you're going and doing a jump from 35 to 39, the only researches you should really be focusing on is anything that's going to reduce the cost.
And there's a lot of that at every level now with the new researches.
Yeah, between all those. Not to mention, you have the Apex research speed and building speed efficiencies that you can do. Those are on the station tree. So using those Apex medals that you got today, yesterday, and the day before for the Apex monthly event, after you get, say, notoriety done and warp range research done, work on your scrap and definitely work on the scrap efficiency research to get your stellar scrapped quicker. Another thing to work on from the station tree would be the Apex building and research speeds to increase those. Give you a perfect example of that. Comparing, say, Yar and Tiger's Ops 40 time. There was about I want to say it was like a 10-day difference, and all that came just from the Apex research speed.
Yeah, and then there's even your old research or construction speed. You're going to have to catch up on that stuff too.
Yep.
Like I stopped doing that because
it got expensive.
Didn't feel like I needed it, but now
it's expensive. You're thinking about you want to upgrade your Augur, you want to upgrade your Enterprise or your D4. You want to go and get these buildings done. There's all these things that you want to go and do. Now you got your Meridian. Last month you got the shuttle bay for the research tree for the away teams. And that costs ore too. I mean, this TNG arc has been very ore heavy. So there's so many things that you want to do, you need to do, but finding the materials you need to do it is frustratingly hard and exhausting even. I've never felt so broke as I do right now from, working on the trying to get Riker unlocked with those leaderboards. I mean, when they had the solo milestone for 20 Picard shards a few days ago, it literally took everything I had, and I barely completed that. Screw the leadership board. I just wanted to get those milestones done for those 20 Picard shards. It's not much, but it's something, Every little bit helps. I mean, the thing about last month was getting 10 Riker shards 3 times each for those solo milestones when they were doing the leaderboard events. That helped. That was 30 shards right there. Then you had all the other little side events in the Riker store. All that stuff helped, but at the same time, that stuff really costs a ton of materials to go and do.
Yeah, and I'm still nowhere near either one. I hope that they continue the availability in the next arc, or the next 2 arcs. I hope they start giving us the Enterprise D. Like, I think they're going to split it up between the next 2 arcs and make you really work for it, because they like to stretch things out in this game.
Oh,
But that's my prediction.
Honestly,
like,
with the promotional stuff that they put saying the Enterprise D is here, they have to put the D out this month. That's you have to do that.
Yeah, well, yeah, they don't have to.
No,
it would be really good.
No, they legitimately have to. If you go and look on the Google or Apple Play Store and you look at the game and you look at screenshots from the game, they literally in the promotional material show upgrading the Enterprise. You have to upgrade the Enterprise. So you have to have the Enterprise D to upgrade it. The big lure to get people into this game right now was Next Generation. That's why it was a 4-month arc. Was they said they spent the first month pretty much revamping the game. They spent the first month mainly for the new players. They introduced a secondary hostile crew with the next gen crew to basically replace the cadet crew, and you could already get all of it in there. They didn't need to do that, but they did because they're trying to get people into the game who like Next Generation.
It actually was in on a public website that they're doing 5 arcs for TNG.
All right. Well, I heard it was 4 arcs from the very beginning, but 5 arcs are better. But the point of it was they spent the first month. They did that. They introduced the away teams, missions, and the shuttle bay that was unlockable at level 8. This is the first time that they'd really gone in and started working on the game from the ground up, in a sense. When I remember when I first started getting surveys from this game, and I would constantly say, "Why the heck did you guys?" I didn't understand how the whole contracts worked and the permitting and all and license agreements were, but I would say, "Why the hell would you guys start with the Kelvin timeline? That you completely limited yourselves starting with Kelvin timeline. You should have been in the next gen era or even the original series era because it opens you up to different races and ships and a universe that's endless and boundless. By starting in the Kelvin timeline, though, you're extremely limited in what you could do, because that's such a pocket universe within Star Trek, and it changes everything within Star Trek. It's almost like if given the changes that they made, Vulcan's now destroyed. Spock wasn't killed by Khan in Wrath of Khan when they were all older, and the circumstances that led to them not being on Earth and being in a cloaked Klingon bird of prey weren't available for when the whale probe came to Earth. The whale probe and V'ger from the motion picture and from Star Trek The Voyage Home, both of those events are fixed events in time. There's nothing that would have stopped them from occurring in the Kelvin timeline. So the fact that the universe was completely different meant the experiences were different. Did they experience a time warp? Do they know what time warp is? Do they know that are they going to be in the right place at the right time to know that they need to go back in time and grab humpback whales? For all we know, in the next gen era of the Kelvin timeline, Earth has been destroyed by either V'ger or by the whale probe, let alone the Borg getting to them or anything. There's all these things that they just open themselves up to screwing up for the future of Star Trek, which is why it's got to stay in a pocket timeline. Introducing Next Generation is a way to fix things that they've kind of been screwing up for years. Also by explaining that this is all another parallel universe where everyone's kind of just taking a sabbatical here from the main universe and the main timeline. Okay, cool. Sure, that works. But that's where they kind of started screwing things up, and they're fixing things with the TNG arc. But if you really want to get people into this game, it's got to be with the Enterprise D. That's been across the board with everything. You want new players, you got to give them access to it. That's why I was saying to Handy last month or so when we were talking about what the Enterprise D would be, that I think it would be great for it to be a hybrid vessel like the Meridian or the Sarcophagus or the Franklin A, where it goes beyond one type of material. It could be the ship that goes from G3 to G4 to G5. It's going to be a long grind, but it's something that people will be able to get from the free-to-play levels to the pay-to-play to the pay-to-win. They'll be able to keep growing and have the Enterprise D. So that it's got to show up. It's got to be there.
Yeah, I think it will.
I'm sure they might open themselves up to a lawsuit or something for false advertising because it is everywhere.
Yeah, well, I hope so. And I hope they do make it available to more than just like the 50 plus people,
Well, exactly. They have to. I mean,
I'm excited because I got my Rialta back yesterday. Remember when the scrapyard first came out? I went on like a scrapathon, and I like scrapped like all my ships I didn't use, and the Rialta was one of them. So Stryker instructed me. He said I put a ticket in, and they gave me the blueprints back, and lo and behold, I got my Rialta back. So anybody who did that by mistake, we can get it back. So that's pretty cool. I wish I could build a whole bunch of them.
I have anxiety about things like that. I didn't scrap any of my little ships.
Yeah.
Like I went a long time asking everyone, like, where do you get Rialta blueprints? Like was willing to grind for them because it's the fastest ship, at least now. It's the fastest ship.
Yeah, it's really great for TC.
Yeah, I need to get
You want
mine
it
back.
extra space
TC
when you're
fight.
annoyed.
No one has a TC fight anymore.
Did you
Yeah.
scrap yours too, Sid?
Yeah, I was like you. When it first came out, I was scrapping the hell out of everything, and just to see like time frames and what resources I would get, blah blah blah. And I was like, man, I'll never use this thing again. I'll never need it again. I haven't used it in forever. And then they come out with the, PvP events, and they're like, hey, use the Realto. And I'm like, oh, shit. So,
Yeah, just put a ticket in though. They just gave mine back. They didn't even I didn't even see this. They sent me a message back or anything. They just right away gave them back to me. So
nice. I mean, it makes sense. It's not like you really, especially I'm level 39. What the hell am I going to use it for? It's not like not like I'm asking them to give me, an enterprise or something.
Oh, hey, guess what? Tam just said that they don't let you scrap the Rialto anymore.
Yeah, they changed that
Yeah,
a while ago.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
I guess they
Yeah,
were
it
tired of
was,
giving away Rialtos.
Yeah, it was originally you can scrap it, and then they I think one of the updates or patches or something, they changed it so that you can't. It's a blocked ship.
That's good because there's a lot of ships you can't scrap, like the New Meridian you can't scrap. I forget what else, but they make sense why you can't scrap them.
I wish you could scrap the Vidar.
Oh, that would be sweet.
Yeah, I mean you can get blueprints for them again, so I mean it kind of would be
Why do you
cool
want to
if you
scrap
could
it?
scrap. If it was
I-
worth a lot, like a
I-
lot, maybe G4 materials or something.
I have 2 spare Vidars in my hangar.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
It
I have 2
costs.
max.
You have
What?
2 max.
No.
Yeah,
I only have 1 maxed. The other 2 I have are like tiers 3.
yeah, I have 2 maxed, and then enough to build 2 or 3 more at blueprints somehow. I don't know, events or something. But yeah, it's one of those things.
Why would you max out 2 Vidar? Why would you max 2
One
Vidar?
because I was on a grinding spree. I don't know. I had
Check
the
your
stuff to
Wi-Fi.
do it.
Check your Wi-Fi. You're getting kind of robotic. You're supposed to be Emperor Sidious, not Darth Vader.
Sound like Cook was
Cook,
sounding
I
like
am your
earlier.
father.
Yeah,
Better.
I mean yeah, you sound good. I actually am scrapping or maxing mine really late because I was spending all my board probes on faction credits so I could get my enterprise. So now I'm
Honestly,
backtracking.
I mean, I did not max my Vidar until probably around 33 or 34. Because first I was focusing on getting my triple faction lock done at like 32, 33. And it was probably around the 1 year mark since the Vidar came out that I maxed it out.
Yeah, I still haven't maxed mine yet either. It's getting there, but I was using it to do triple lock.
Yeah.
So
I
now
mean,
I've been working on actual ship.
it's totally okay that it's taking like a year or so to max the Vidar. And it's a good grind.
I mean, it takes hundreds of thousands of charged nanoprobes to get it
Yeah.
to tier 9.
But you do want to make sure that you are doing a max refine of the active nanoprobes every day. That is actually more important than
Many
maxing the
Oh, I don't do that.
I do
it's
max
It's
sometimes.
pricey.
Sometimes I just do one. But I wasn't doing it at all before until Cook yelled at me.
it's basically at the current rate. If you wanted to max every Borg officer, it would take 15 years doing max refines of active nanoprobes. So Better get started on it now. And hopefully they will do something to fix that. But that's why you want to focus on certain board officers before, don't just upgrade anyone. Be sure who you upgrade.
Always.
Yeah. I've just been doing a single of each one of charged and active.
Oh,
I'm just doing a single each day.
sorry. I just double checked. I'm wrong. It's 3 years of max refines for the active nanoprobes. The 15 years was for all the independent officers, for all the independent credits you would need.
Wait. That's just stupid.
Yeah,
that's bad.
those are ridiculous.
I get as many of those I can in the augment store, but I'm not, since I haven't maxed my Vidar yet, I'm not getting any in the Borg store. So, but there's so many officers like Joe Quinn that you don't need to upgrade again. I don't do any of the like Khan and any of those guys. I don't spend any independent credits on them. But I'd say everybody else that I can think of, I'd probably want to upgrade, like Khan, and who else is there?
I don't know. You tell
Who else
us.
that takes independent credits? All the Borg officers,
Yeah,
5
all
of 10, 6 of 10. Like you
all the
want to
board
upgrade.
officers, all the exchange officers, all the augment officers. Sorry,
1
Marlon,
of 10 is
Marlon
very back.
Douglas takes Federation credits, not independent. At the
I
moment,
upgrade at 1 of 10, but I would say he's back burner.
yeah. At the moment, that's everyone knows. Just the Mud augment, aside from Marla and the board. But
And all the con
exchange.
guys.
Yeah, that's the augment.
Katie, Joachim.
Yeah, that's the augment people.
I've maxed Joachim. Joaquin?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Joaquin. Didn't you ever watch Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan?
Too long ago.
Oh my god, I can quote
Like
that.
I do not have the storyline like down like you do.
I was a teenager when I last saw it.
Yeah, me too. I think I was probably a teenager.
I watched it 2 weeks ago on Monday.
I vaguely recall them putting some kind of worm thing in someone's ear.
A Tau Ceti eel, the only thing left on Tau Ceti 5
Ew.
of the indigenous. It worms its way into the brain, and if you fight it, it will cause a seizure. If you let it just do its thing, it will open your mind to being very susceptible to whatever someone says to you. Basically, it turns you into a slave zombie.
That's
That
cool.
sounds lovely.
And then Nero used the same eel on Pike in Star Trek 2009.
Well, Tau Ceti also has 3-star gas. Don't forget that.
Tau Ceti 6 was destroyed. This is Tau Ceti 5. Didn't you
I really enjoyed the Stargate series.
Yeah, Stargate was fantastic, but this is a Star Trek show.
Yeah,
But
don't get us
that's when
started.
you said the worm thing, like that's what I thought of. Is
You think of the
worm
gold?
they had? Yep.
Yes. Well, the gold are way different than a Tau Ceti eel. If anything, they're more akin to a Trill symbiont. Imagine if the symbionts from Trill weren't as nice and were more like the gold and enslaved the populace. Although in a way they kind of do.
Yeah, they kind of do.
I think Sid would be down. I mean, sporting the Emperor icon and everything.
Yep.
Of course, they
Got
even went into they went into like a side part of that where they actually had volunteer. They weren't goa'uld, but they were the same worms.
Okay.
They controlled them, but they actually volunteered to be recipients.
Oh, you're talking about the Toko.
Creepy. Is that what they were called?
Yeah,
Yes.
the Toko.
We're falling down the SG1 black hole.
The rabbit
Okay.
hole.
What
Let's
was the
get-
London part of your
I was going to ask that too.
of
What was
the
that?
cast? You put driving home, talking Meridian, Arc 3, and London, and your questions. So we haven't touched that yet.
Meridian.
This is a typo.
Yeah, Meridian.
Then it said Arc 3 and London. So I was just like, okay, is that actually part of the podcast or a typo?
Oh, that was a type. Oh, I was trying to say McLovin.
McLovin. All right.
Yeah, that's what we call hugs in our line.
All right.
We call hugs McLovin.
Okay.
It just kind of rolls off the tongue better.
We just wanted to stress the importance of radio silence with this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's the only way to get rid of him. Like, he's after his PD. He wants to be number one and power destroyed. Once he gets that done, he's not going to have anything to do.
Yep.
And he's agreed to stay away from our armadas if nobody sends him PMs that are, I would say, like threatening or whatever.
I screenshotted it and shared it
any.
with my alliance, so they know.
Yep. Don't send him any PMs, and you might get dry hit. You know, he might do system clears. Just ignore him.
He loves me. It's okay. I don't mind.
Just make sure you lube up your nacelle so it doesn't hurt as much.
I'd rather he hit me than a lot of my other people. And I notice when he hits me, he tends to hit my other people less.
Well, I agree. I'd much rather you hit me than hit my other people too. It's a sacrifice us admirals make. But, part of that is also this is dealing with a bully is, we touched on this for a while last week. Bullies are something that a lot of us have had to deal with, especially as sci-fi geeks and nerds. We probably got bullied more than most people did growing up. And so it's very important that you know how to deal with them. And one thing I know from dealing with bullies is the more you fight back, the more they're going to enjoy pummeling you. And this guy, frankly, none of us can touch him. Even the strongest people in Dread can't do much against him.
Yeah, we can scratch and paint, but that's. I think Pirate Roberts, if he's listening, I think so. I think he might be the only one that could potentially take out his ship at maybe a hit or two times, but otherwise,
that's really expensive.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And that's the thing is, that makes between the three of our alliances, that makes one person can potentially do something to him. So when members ask us to fight back, the only way we can fight is by taking away his power. And the only way we can take away his power is by giving him no attention, because that's what he's looking for. He's looking for attention. The more attention we give him, the more attention he's going to give us. So we have to fight him by ignoring him and not giving him any attention. And it's painful. It's definitely painful. When he does something that really just irks you, you just want to go at him and you get so angry. I know when he goes and hits, a free-to-play player's armada, an epic armada that could be the first epic armada they ever ran because they were low level. It could be one that took them months to grind for, and they finally get to do it, and he goes and hits it. They are I'm angry for them. You know, I want to tear something up. Uh, that's why it's so important not to. Because he's gonna see how angry it's making you, and he's just gonna do it more. Because he's a keyboard warrior. There's nothing you can do to stop him. He can just keep doing more and more, making you more and more angry, and he's feeding off of that. You know, it's give me your hatred, feed off of it. I can feel it. I want more of it. Soon you will be part of the dark side. You know,
That's my line.
exactly.
Yeah, we want to remember we're not there. We're not those people. We're bigger than that.
Exactly. We are better than that. We have always said we are better than that. We have fought wars because we are better than that. We must be better. That is why I had to put up a code of conduct for Dead this week. I will go and read it off right now, since I find it. Code of conduct. This is an addition to row. You know, you have your row, your rules of engagement, things that you should or shouldn't do in terms of gameplay. The code of conduct is if you want to be a member of Dead, we pride ourselves in being good sports, playing the game, treating people as people. You know, every person who's playing this game, they are not a bot. They are not part of a computer. They are people just like you or I. So it is important to treat them like people, which is something that too many people in the past year have forgotten to do. We must be better. So the rules of that are treat others as you wish to be treated. The golden rule. No real life threats or wishes of harm for real life. Try and avoid GC confrontations, or just don't post in GC altogether. Don't talk politics. That's a big thing. That's always been a rule in Dead. And please respond to your combos. When something happens and we need to reach out to you, there's a reason for it. We are trying to fix a situation before things get worse. If you ignore us, it's kind of like a slap in the face. It's very important for members of every alliance to understand that Commodores are players just like you who have a dedication to want to help others and want to do whatever they can to make the alliance grow strong and the people within it, grow strong and to guide them on their journey throughout the game. And it means that there's a lot of situations that we're constantly having to fix and negotiate. And while you guys may not always see what we're doing behind the scenes, what we are doing is making sure that you can grow and play in a healthy and safe environment as possible. So it would be nice because everyone who does this is a volunteer. No one's getting paid to do this. We're just doing it because we're good people and we want to help each other out and we care. And because of that, if you do something, please respect us as just trying to help the situation out. And listen to what we say, talk back to us so that we can fix any situation that arises. If you have a situation, please come to us. We can't do this without you because we are here for you. Sid, Jolly, do you want to touch on that?
I can. Dread has a very similar set of rules. We've had it for a very long time. But it's essentially that you don't want to. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So our set of rules is, don't say anything that you wouldn't want to tell, like say to your mom or your sister or your spouse. Like, just be nice to people. Don't cause problems. Stay out of GC as much as possible. Inter alliance rules, we have a no politics and no no politics and no religion ban. It just makes life a lot easier. We did have to expand a little bit and add in the topic about um, like gays and trans and that kind of stuff, because Dread has a couple players that are in the LGBTQ community, and somebody was going on making comments about things, and they took great offense to them. So we had to step in, and I had to jump in game and be like, "Hey, y'all need to shut up! Like, you guys can't be talking about this. You guys can have whatever opinions you want. I don't care. Don't voice them in Alliance chat. This is a space for everybody to come and enjoy the game. They don't want to have to wonder, is someone going to make a comment today?" So,
well, yeah, I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand with, talk to someone like you would your family, avoid politics, because I know a lot of that stuff can be political by nature. But, I mean, respect your fellow gamer. That's what all this comes down to. Respect each other. Don't diss one another. Treat each other. When you're in an alliance, you're in a family. That's one big thing that our alliances have in common is each of our alliances are families, and we care so much about each other that it's very important that we respect each other, because every family has to have respect for each other.
Yep.
Definitely. No, at QT, it's more of when people want to join us, I go, all right, well, you can join and see how you like it. And at the same time, we kind of see how they are too, because we're not exclusive. We're not trying to pick anyone out, but we want to see, well, we want them to see how we play. And oftentimes everyone plays differently. We all have different things. Some people want a PvE, some want a mine. And everyone's allowed to do that in my alliance. But we also, when we run into conflicts, typically I tell everyone, I go, well, first see what was the cause of it, where did it start. A lot of my guys is really they handle diplomacy themselves, and I used to do it a lot when we first started, and everyone just kind of picked up on how I went about it, and it's kind of percolated through the alliance. But it's about respect. It's asking what's going on, what can we do differently, or come to a agreement when you can with people on how to settle differences. But sometimes you can't, and I do encourage my people not to get in GC. They do sometimes. They're allowed to. I mean, hey, if you want to, you can, but I discourage it. I discourage when people are getting upset at the game. I'm like, well, we all play this for fun. A lot of us work. It's a way to wind down at the end of the day or the weekend. So who wants to get all riled up or upset for something that we all do for enjoyment? And often we have people who just take a step back when it's too much, And that's how we kind of do things.
Yeah, so we had a question from Tam in the audience asking like what's the big deal about GC, basically. Now, I think basically you can summarize GC as the squeaking in the background from your bird. It's bad noise that gets on people's nerves. Kidding. That's one of those respect things. But I mean, I've once described GC as Mos Eisley Cantina. You'll never find a more treacherous, evil place in the galaxy. You know, plenty of people do post in GC by accident. Accidents happen. All right. But it is important to go and try and pay attention to where you're posting things. Granted, you can go and say that was an accident, whatever, but you can usually tell what's an accident and what's not. And you definitely, anytime you're posting base coordinates, triple check where you're posting those. Because I'm pretty sure everyone here is guilty of posting codes in GC at one point or another by accident.
I think we've all done it at once.
Yeah.
And you can chat with somebody in GC. It's just an encouragement to stay away from it because it can be just like
It can be
Quick was
toxic.
saying.
There are a lot of trolls and a lot of gaslighters that frequent GC. Not all of them, but I'm saying there are people in there that do that. So that's why I discourage it. Or I only go in there when I'm bored, and I'll just casually chit chat about things. But I definitely don't grab onto anything serious.
It's fine to chit chat and stuff, but yeah, you know,
don't get drawn in.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get kicked for accidentally posting chords in GC, but like Cook said, if it's a common occurrence, we're going to be able to tell.
Yeah, pretty much. Or if you're responding to someone else in there, or if, and I'll even cite myself as an example. I got heated at what was it? Was it Hugs or no? It was AK. I got angry with AK for him hitting everyone, and he and I were chatting in general chat in the Galaxy chat, and even arguing, and I was trolling him a bit back, and then I was trolling Dirt, saying Dirt's not the original Dirt. It's not the OG Dirt. It's a pair comparison, a bad imitation. That's honestly what we're saying don't do. So I am guilty of doing something bad.
I mean, I tell my guys that GC is a common place for Sergeant Wrath and Topher to hang out and spew endless amounts of dribble. So that alone is reason enough to stay out, just so you don't lose innumerable brain cells listening to their crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reality is that GC is mostly populated by trolls. Like most of the people that are going to hang out in there are, they've got no reason to be there except to gain attention. Or they're a 1 or 2 man alliance that, they don't have anybody to talk to in AC, so they go to GC. Most of the people that are active there, they're just there to troll. And I like they touched on earlier, any kickable offenses that come from being in GC is like maliciously posting base coordinates or things like that in general chat, because that's usually done to try and draw people's attention to a base. They're like, hey, I can't crack this base myself, but this guy pissed me off, so I'm going to throw his base coords up in GC and see if one of the big guys will come hit him, which is almost universally not what happens. Most of the time people are going to look at the person posting the chords and go, well, if I'm going to hit anybody, I'm going to hit your ass. So that's been my experience.
Hey, Tiger.
Welcome, Tiger.
He goes on radio silence. Nice.
So
like
one of
I
my
heard that soothing voice coming.
one of my 97 children came to ask me a question, so I muted very quickly there.
You're 97. That's what cracks me.
Yeah, I lost count a long time ago, but there's a metric fuck ton of those guys.
Every time
I am the author of my own demise.
It's all good.
Every time I ask him about his kids, another one seems to pop up. It's like trying to keep up with Dax's hosts.
That is actually a Star Trek reference I could get.
Actually, when I was still in the military, I had one of my supply sergeants ask me one day, he's like, how many kids do you actually have? Because I've never heard you say the same number twice. I'm like, well, Sergeant. And then I just walked away because, he wasn't in my chain of command, so I didn't have to answer him. I am, in fact, an asshole. I don't know if anybody's noticed that yet or not, but it's 100% true.
No.
Who hired this man? I did, sir. Who's this guy? He's an asshole, sir.
He's my cousin.
I know he's an asshole. No, that's his name, sir. Major asshole. I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes. Yo.
Look, it's your alliance. What did you think was going to happen?
Exactly. Thought I was watching Spaceballs the other day in the kitchen. I love that movie.
My wife and I looked at each other constantly. It's Spaceballs and Princess Bride, Airplane. Those get thrown around a lot in our house.
Blazing Saddles is one of my favorite comedies, but I feel like I have to watch that in private because if I dare watch it in the kitchen, someone might call me a racist because that's such a racist kind of movie. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that movie.
Yep. That movie would not be able to be made today by any stretch of imagination.
Not at all.
There's not many Mel Brooks movies that would make it past today's boards. Blazing Saddles, definitely not. I think even Bad Fights would have had some trouble.
I was actually reading an article the other day about someone from the Olympics who got fired because he made jokes about Nazism. And it's like Mel Brooks wrote Springtime for Hitler in The Producers. And it's a critically acclaimed comedy.
Oh, it was great.
We can't make jokes about Nazis now.
You can't make jokes about anything if you're going to be PC.
I made a soup Nazi joke.
Well, it's a good thing I don't care about that.
Yep.
Yes, definitely don't make Nazi jokes in GC. That's pretty much where we're coming with this.
Where the black hole has gone to.
Yeah.
So,
See, just talking about GC brought this conversation down.
Yeah. So we were going to talk about the Meridian.
Evil influence.
Talk about something educational.
We talked about the Meridian. We talked about Arc 3. We talked about and its effect on deep space. We've talked about trolling and McLovin and code of conduct. What do you guys think of Arc 4 will give us?
A bunch of crap.
I heard an interesting
right.
Well, I heard an interesting theory the other day that first of all, we already know Worf is going to be the Romulan equivalent of Geordi and Riker. That's just a given. But what about Troy? I think Troy might be an uncommon or rare officer, probably rare, that because they're male chauvinists, all the guys are epics and the women are rares. And
hey, Wesley's not a woman.
Shut up, Wesley.
It just looks like one.
Doesn't someone have their username as Wesley's? Oh, I'm trying to remember. Is it husband, wife, girlfriend?
I saw something like that. I know who you're talking about. I don't remember what it was either, but I saw something. I just started cracking up. I'm like, you can't do that on TV.
So I think, though, that Troy is going to be similar to probably Chen or Talon.
Maybe. But I would go so far as to say that she will probably end up being one of the, let's say, sneaky good officers, because whenever they do these new crew sets,
you don't think a secondary Chen or Talon would be a sneaky good officer?
Not really, because unless it provides some kind of additional edge or has some kind of a quirk that makes it that much more effective in a specific scenario. Now, say for example, she does all hostile damage as a cut. Okay, now we're in business. So I don't have to switch between Chen and Talan. I could run a second hostile crew and she just gives me a universal cut. That might be interesting. If she's going to do a cut that actually works in an armada, okay, we might be onto something here.
Well, and she'll also get the expanded boost from Picard's ability, and with that synergy, plus synergy in the health bonuses, if you have, say, a tier 2 or tier 3 Beverly Crusher with that, and you have a full synergy plus all that, I think it would just be an insane combo that would make Pike, Moreau, and Talon look like nothing.
Well, from what Darius was talking about the other day, the difference between your Picard Beverly plus Talan Chen versus their normal Pike Moreau combination is almost completely negligible. It's almost exactly the same output. What I don't see anybody talking about, and this is where I think Picard is really interesting in a way that our server hasn't maybe noticed yet, and I haven't had a chance to test this yet, but look at some of the direct specialty officers. Let's use Jayla on Swarm Armadas as an example. In, let's say, what the hell is she? Empress Georgiou, right? She gives that very specific multi-shot bonus per round when you're on a capture node. That I don't know that you can really, I think it would work in this idea too, but I don't think it's really important at this age of the server. But if you look at Jayla, and she gives a bonus to shots per round against swarm targets, then you take Picard and Beverly. And Picard gives a 50% synergy, or any crew member from that gives a 50% synergy bonus to Picard, who then doubles whatever the effective bonus is. So you're looking at 120% addition to that bridge ability of +1 shots per round. That should give me an additional shot per round with that crew configuration. And I think that's really where this crew might have the opportunity to shine, is finding some of those little like wrinkle officers that are very situation specific and just blowing the lid off of them. Because can you imagine how much easier a Swarm Armada gets for a team of 39, Frank A's going in there, that now all of a sudden the guys that have Jayla can throw, +2 shots per round per weapon, the damage output and everything that ramps up with that. Plus you still have the mitigation bonuses coming from Crusher. I think that's where the real potential for some of these crew combinations lives, or at least for Picard. Because I know that the obvious is that, okay, hostile hunting, armadas, and blah, 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 blah. But when you look at the armada crews that are already out there, does it really move the needle? I don't think so. But if I can give a 120% bonus to 5 of 10, where somebody like me's got her at +60% loot gained, I can add 120% onto that and make it a flat 120% bonus. That's pretty cool. I hate grinding probes. This is interesting to me. I think that's where some of the stuff comes in. That unless Troy gives some kind of a wrinkle that just pops like that, I don't know that anything in this crew set's really that impressive unless you're coming up with creative ways to use them or maximize them.
Well, just having a secondary hostile grinding crew that is just as effective as Pike Moreau Chen.
Well, here's
just
what
to have two ships running at the same time.
Oh, but that's situation specific though, because you can only look in one system at a time. And I'll admit I do this all the time, where I'll send ships to 2 different systems and flop back and forth. But that is a pain in the ass, and that's just
putting them to one system to do a faction hunt with two ships to just
so it's
cut
useful
the time in
once
half.
a month. It's useful once
I
a month.
guess. Or
I mean, that's where I say it's not that impressive. I mean, it's good. You're not wrong at all. But at the same time, like, how often do you need 2 separate, really efficient hostile crews running in the same system? If you are a high enough level that you have enough docks to do that, chances are you've already got effective hostile crews, as secondaries that maybe you're not using or haven't thought to use. Because during faction hunt, I'll run 2-3 ships in a system, but I'm running my PMC on one ship. I'm running my racists on another ship. So like if I'm hunting Romulans, I have my, Yuki's in the chair and I have Yanog, on the bridge, and I'm already ramping all that damage. And then I have whatever ship type is running around in there. I run the penetration officer with it. So Kang or Charvanek or Marcus. And, so I've got enough docs and enough officers and stuff to make that effective. For a lower level player who has, 3 docs, let's say, do you really have 2 open docs free for running those events, or are you mining at the same time, or are you, chasing down data or ISO or G3 max or, whatever it is you need at that point? I question how much of efficacy you really get at any ops level, trying to focus on these guys as another hostile crew. It's nice. I don't disagree with that, but I also think it's very use limited. So that's all of that just as a caution to say, like, don't chase them too hard. Don't break the bank trying to get them, because while on the surface, in a vacuum or whatever, they're absolutely just as good, and it'd be great to have 2 of them. You still got to ask yourself, how valuable is having 2 of them, and how often is that valuable to me?
And another place where I can agree with that is, like in the morning, I will go and do, say, swarms and Borg probes. If you're doing swarms, you can use Talon, and you can do, say, Pike Moreau Talon, and then you go and do Borg probes. No one really does Pike Moreau for Borg probes, so I do 5, 7, and Chen. People do 7, 5 or 7, 7, 9 in Talon or Chen.
I do 5, 7, 9. I think everybody that does all of these
Yeah,
probes is
Yeah.
kinda crazy.
yeah. I mean, I find I get a better result with 5, 7, and Chen. But
What level are you hitting when you're going after probes, though?
33s. And
Do
I
you
walk
fill
away.
your cargo using that crew?
No, but I get the most cargo. I tend to walk away with like 220.
Let's see. I don't hit 33s. I hit 32s, and the 5, 7, 9 combo takes me about 12, maybe 13 minutes, and I'm at 290 max cargo pulling away. I used to be of the mind that, I go for max speed, so I could go to the 33s and take me like 7, 8 minutes to blow up my ship. And I'd hit about that same point where it's like the 220, 240 range, something there. But at this point, the amount of faction credits and everything you pull out of that, like you're selling yourself short. You got to be able to do it in 2 runs. Get your 580, get your max pull on your charge nanoprobes, and you get your single pull on your active nanoprobes.
No, other way around. You want to do the single pull on the charge and the max pull on the active.
You're flat wrong.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, completely wrong.
You
Here's
want those
why.
nanoprobes.
How
We can start
close
some
are you
sound
to
effects,
hitting
guys.
any of those? How close to you hitting that 500,000 level for any of your board? And explain to me why any one of those is more important than your faction credits.
Well, I get my.
And by the way, the independent credits you're also going to need to go with those charge nanoprobes.
Oh no, I pull the independent credits every day, and I do Romulan credits every day. I don't really do the other 2 because it's not as important at the moment for me. But the active nanoprobes, it's going to take forever to get the amount that you're going to need eventually. So you may as well get started on that.
Well, I've been single pulling since they introduced that in the store. But here's the thing: when you get to the point that you're starting to get concerned about getting those epics to level 20 or level 30, you're either buying the prime or you're not going to do it. Period. Because even at your double pull, it's like a promotion every 9 months. So unless you get the prime, bro, they're stopped at level 20 and you're just on here.
Yeah, well, that's why I figured I may as well get started on the maxes right away.
Well, you're not wrong, and if you can do that, great. But where you're wrong is skipping that double pull on the charged, because you're still going to hit that faction credit wall long before you have to worry about promoting a second one of those officers, past level 20. Because just the staggering amount, even doing the double pull, the staggering amount of time that it takes, and the complete elimination of progressing any other officer that requires independent credits, because the independent credit cost on those guys is obscene. In my opinion, you just don't have the ability to crunch that much over that long a period of time without sacrificing too much in other areas. And realistically, there reaches a point of diminishing returns with all of those officers. Like 6 of 10 is an amazing officer, but most of the armadas that you can hit, you don't need more than 20% bonus from him. And the reason I say that is because either the fight's not going to last long enough for that much penetration ramp to matter, or B, you're going to hit max penetration early enough in the fight that why do you need more? What's the value of that grind? 6 of 10 is superfluous in Eclipse armadas after a certain point of research, because you just penetrate so fast anyways. I mean, look at the stuff that either myself or Yar or VR are doing at level 39 with maxed research. There, we have to be in, Midge, maybe Lindstrom, before those armadas are standing up to us at all in terms of how we're penetrating. Like, my penetration numbers don't dip at all until we're hitting, 38, 40 targets. And so, who cares?
I think we should start a new drinking game every time you say penetration.
I thought we'd been doing that for a month. Hold on, just
I haven't been doing double pulls on either one just because I hate probe hunting, and that is just the only reason why.
If someone didn't know this was about the game, that would sound very bad right now.
I really should be, because I can't even. It's going to be so long to get my Vidar max if I don't start doing that.
No, you should definitely focus on getting that Vidar max before you work on any of the stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, well, doing max pulls on the charged nanoprobes would get my Vidar max.
Yes, definitely do max pulls
faster
for that.
And I just haven't been doing that because I just hate probe hunting. But you need hundreds of thousands of them for the tier 9 parts that I'm working on.
So
and it's just so slow going. So I think no matter where you're at with a Vidar, I think that it's a good idea to do double pulls in the charge.
Definitely do the double pulls. That's fine. Tiger makes a great point there. I've probably been slacking on that. But I don't see why, if you do, say, 3 runs like that, you couldn't do max pull on both. And every day earn a little bit more so that one day you could take a day off from it. Or if you spend a day and just grind out a few million so that you can take a few days off from doing it, that's fine too. But like, so much of this game is this, almost like everything is important to do for your progression. One thing is very clear is there's no winning in this game. There's just progression in this game.
No, Scopely is winning. That's what I always would say. Like, when 2 alliances are at war, they always ask who's winning, and I always say Scopely.
Yeah, that's the truth. Scopely is winning every time someone like McLovin pisses someone off and spends money trying to get strong.
I wonder how much hate mail they've gotten about him alone.
Scopely, he's not doing anything to break the terms of service. In fact, he's playing it the way Scopely wants people to play.
Yeah, exactly.
He's doing exactly what they want. I mean, the Meridian was brought about to increase PvP, increase people hitting OPL.
Yeah, the whole like no protected cargo thing on that is just a blatant reason for doing that, was to increase PvP. They get people pissed off. And hopefully that the agreement, the gentleman's agreement, sticks. Because I mean, I've logged back in the game and forgot I put my Meridian on a node and it was full and just sitting there. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. So I hit recall and, got my stuff home. So I mean, it surprises me.
It's all about how we act. That goes back into the code of conduct. The way we treat others will result in the way we are treated. If we are respectful to others and treat each other nice and as equal, they will do the same to us. If they're assholes, we don't give them a rise, or we don't take the challenge when they try and get a rise out of us, they will just move on to the next target.
I think about when I was first coming up in the game, early 20s and stuff like that, and things that would have set me then that don't even move the needle now. And I remember the reactions of certain players. I remember people that were shitty, and I remember people that were respectful, and I remember people that were like, "Hey, why are you being shitty? Here's how it is." And as I kind of I became a little bit more immersed in the community and kind of met other players and other alliances and built some relationships and stuff. That really sticks with you. And when you see that the majority of the community that plays this game is pretty respectful and pretty laid back, and you learn to recognize the people that are not and continue not to be, it really makes it kind of easier to kind of treat everybody with respect, or having that be the default, because it's just so much easier that way. Because most of the time that there's the start of a conflict, you have a choice. There's a moment where you can either choose to be an asshole, choose to take offense, or choose to make an issue, or you can choose to be reasonable and be like, hey, so why'd you hit me? Everything cool? Fine. And then all of a sudden you've got, friends all over the server because you've comported yourself in a respectful manner. You've chosen not to be a douche, and they've reciprocated, and it makes every future interaction that much easier, because players remember that. People remember if you were an ass about something, or if you were, or even if you were an ass and you came back and apologized later instead of being belligerent and continuing the issue. And if you choose to operate with respect and you choose to be understanding, most of the time you're going to be rewarded for that. And the inverse is also true. You can choose to be a bully, or you can choose to be an ass or be belligerent, and that's going to pay dividends down the road for you as well. So it's really, I don't know. It's always seemed pretty simple to me once I really started to learn it, that if you just treat people decent and do like we ask, to treat people the way you would like to be treated, operate with some understanding. I mean, most of the issues that people have in this game are self-created, through your responses or your actions or whatever. And if you want to be that way, fine, but be prepared to reap the reward that you've asked for.
And on what you're saying, Tiger, we got to remember that our actions are going to affect our alliance. So somebody running their mouth and getting someone like McLovin to target us is not just going to affect them. That in fact affects everybody, including our smaller players who are, as Cook brought out earlier, are grinding hard to get some of these rewards, these Armada tokens, whatever it is. By us just kind of sucking it up and ignoring it, we're benefiting everybody.
That is such a huge point that I think sometimes when people are mad, they forget that, anybody in an alliance, whatever you do, whatever you say, however you act, you're not just speaking for yourself. And it doesn't matter how many times you preface it by saying, well, this isn't how my alliance feels. This is just me. No, it doesn't matter. You're wearing our tags. You're representing all of us, whether it's in private message, in general chat, and in, at home at AC, anywhere in Discord. You're representing everybody on the team. And all of us have to keep in mind that whatever we do, whichever direction we go, it does absolutely affect more than just us. When we went to war with 13 and Drift, Cook, Danny, everybody here can speak to this. We agonized over whether or not we should do that, not because we were worried about repercussions for ourselves, because those of us at the upper end of the alliance, we know what we're doing. We can defend ourselves. We know what we can and can't get away with, and we're pretty savvy in this stuff. But we worry about players that are lower ops who may not necessarily have the experience or may not have the ships or may not know the workarounds, and it's those players that we worry about. As it turns out, the players that we have in dead in that level range are quite tenacious, and we really enjoy that. That was fun to see, man. Oh my God. Tam, you guys have no idea how much we were cheering you guys on in the background there, just like, oh, these guys are awesome. But that was, but that's always the big concern, for a lot of us is, yeah, we can go to war with this team, and yeah, we can, I can take their ships, VR can take their ships, Drift, Tiger, Cook, R, we can do this, we can dance this dance, but can the 20s deal with this and still play their game? Can the 28s, 29s still operate and play their game unimpeded? I made a comment somewhere, I think it's Discord or AC or something, but I said something the other day about I've yet to be in a war that stopped me from doing my dailies or ultimately really impacted my gameplay at all. But I know that I'm in the minority there. And it's not me that I think about it. That's true for all of us, in leadership here at Dead, that we're not thinking about ourselves when it's time to decide whether or not we're going to war. We're thinking about the players who have the least ability to defend themselves or will have the toughest time doing their dailies and keeping their progression on point. That's who we worry about. And so, like Danny said, we all have to remember that we represent everybody and that repercussions are very much going to come for other people, not necessarily just for ourselves, especially when we're picking a fight with somebody we know we can take, because they're not going to come for us. They're going to go for the people that they can hit, they can succeed against, so we're not going to be the targets. It's oftentimes going to be players at lower ops levels or with less PvP ability or ship power or whatever the hell, that are going to feel the pain of that. So something to always keep in mind.
Yeah, when Dredd was fighting Mill a little while back, we had two distinct groups. There was the first group that absolutely loved it and was giving Mill a run for their money. And there was the other group that were the more casual players or the lower ops levels, and they absolutely hated it because they were easy targets, and Mill would pick them off left and right, and then they would get so pissed that they're just getting their ships beat up, and it's like, well, this is kind of part and parcel with all this stuff. But I ended up going and talking to Wrath to sort out a peace treaty, because too many of my lower ops
to go and bang shit the casual players, and it's not necessarily just limited to ops level. I mean, we've got a couple of our higher, not to call anybody out, but I'm going to do it. Sal is a great example. He's a fantastic player. He's a really good teammate, but Sal is not a PvP guy necessarily. That's not really what he's here for. He's here, it seems, more for like the community experience. He enjoys the growth. He enjoys the progression. But he's here as much as anything because, he likes everybody he plays with. It's a fun, casual game for him. And he doesn't necessarily go looking to pick a fight like yours truly. I see a fight laying on the ground. I'm more than happy to pick it up and make friends with it and kick it around for, a month. And I enjoy that. I have a lot of fun because I like to compete. I like to, I like to go at people bigger than me. I like to attack ships that I shouldn't be able to take and win. I like the idea of bullying 41s and 42s. I find that amusing to no end. There's nothing that makes me happier than, sitting there at a base raid that's hitting an ally or hitting one of our guys. There was one where it was probably a month or two ago where Africanus and a couple of other Moisty players were trying to raid. I think it was one of our guys, or it might have been somebody from Dread. And I'm looking in our AC, and everybody's like, "Oh no, we can't do anything." And so I ported my base in there, and I proceeded to make an unholy nuisance of myself, knowing fully that I could not take these guys in an open space battle, but I could absolutely piss them off enough that they couldn't continue to raid, which I did. And there's no better feeling in the world as a 39 to go in there surrounded by 40s and go, "I'm kicking your asses. You can't do shit." So, but not everybody's there. Not everybody wants to do that stuff. So you've always got to keep in mind that there's players out there who are just as happy, getting their daily events done and having a place to come hang out and kick back for an hour or two and kind of play their mobile game and then go back to their lives. And like you said, Sid, you've got to represent those players as well. You're being in leadership in an alliance is not just about crafting the alliance into your play style or forcing people into how you play the game, but you've got to represent everybody. It's a microcosm of like an elected official, almost, where you've got to represent everybody in your district. You can't just represent the people that voted for you. You got to take care of everybody. I know politics doesn't really work that way, but it should. So, we can do it here.
We do politics the right way here. Even though I am in no part a dictator.
You're just a cook.
Yeah. Talk about Sal. Sal's our top ops player too. He's our level 41.
Not anymore. Wait, he went
Nope.
to 41?
Yeah, he's a 41 now.
Oh, he must have did that
now?
because I hit 40. Oh,
Yeah, he didn't want you at an equal ops level.
he's
Yeah.
always got to stay one level above me.
Yep.
That's okay. You've got like 10 million power on him. What's the difference?
That is true.
Mute, Tiger. Mute.
We're getting a little squirrely.
What's
Sorry,
going on,
Sal, if you're
guys?
listening. I love you. You're awesome. What's up, Bobby?
Hey, Bobby.
First time joiner, long time
Hey,
player.
Bobby.
Turn on the light switch just makes him mad as anything.
I thought this was all PvP game. Am I in the wrong game?
Yes.
It depends. If you want to play the McLovin way, yes, it's completely PvP. If you want to play Thrall's way, it's completely mining. Farmville.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
People
be
call
somewhere in the middle.
people call this like a war game. I think that's kind of funny. This is not a war game.
It's a mining game.
Shot.
It's definitely a mining game because right now I'm literally in deep space looking for a mining node.
Hey, that reminds me. I better pull my Meridian in. I'm at 200K.
It's a mining game with a side of some PvP, some just attacking hostiles.
I mean,
But
you
it's a
almost,
lot.
I would say that it's mostly mining and PvE. I mean, it's
Yeah.
PvP is tough to find sometimes. I mean, the couple of months of TC when it first kicked off was incredibly exciting.
but it became incredibly exhausting.
Oh god, yeah, it did. Oh, it was tiresome.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of PvP, I'm gonna hit Toph's bug while we're on.
Oh, nice. Don't fart too hard.
He
on
was
it.
Toph or
he
the
was
Mad.
crying at us early. He was crying at us earlier because he had us as purple. What was up with that? How did we get purple with Toph?
That was my doing. When we had the Olympics kind of event going on, Singularity from Koba and Red Dye from Dye went and joined Toph so that he could do the Armada event. And they were helping him out
I saw that.
with the exchange armadas. And I told Red Dye to let Toph know that as long as he and Singh were in his alliance, Dead wouldn't touch them, and I gave him a hand. But the second that they left, I took that and put a red dot back on them.
I am judging you so hard right now.
Why?
I don't know, Tiger reasons. I got nothing.
I didn't want to wait. I didn't
Yeah.
want to waste Red Dot Sing's tokens when they were launching on.
That's fair. That's a good guy move that they did there.
He did a nice thing, and they are friends of the Alliance and friends of mine. Also,
Red Eye's a cool guy, and I'm sure Singh is too. But I judge him hard by his tags. I mean, I know that.
I know, and I give
Maybe
him
I shouldn't because I used to have 13 in front of my name, so we've all made mistakes. But I shouldn't judge too harshly.
Oh no, it's totally okay to judge Singh harshly. I was giving him shit this morning, and he didn't even know who I was because he was so out of it that he was like, "Let Cook know I said hi." I'm like, "Dude, you're talking to Cook."
Like, I will sure let me know that you said that.
I'm like, "Dude, it's 10
Is he
o'clock in the
still
morning.
over
Don't tell me
there?
already." He's a huge pothead. I'm like, "It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Don't tell me already stoned." He's like, "Dude, I wish. It's just been such a rough day already." And I'm like, I'm sorry.
a huge pothead. I've never not known who I was talking to. I don't know if that's an excuse. That's something that non-potheads say because you imagine that we're that way, but we're not.
No, because thing is, Singh actually lives out here by me, so we actually know each other in real life.
So how
Oh no, I
he's
saw
in
your
thir-
epic
he's in
lightsaber
13?
battle outside the restaurant there.
Yeah.
No, Singh came from Tank.
Yeah.
He's like the one redeemable player that still inexplicably follows AJ.
Yes.
So it's Fire now. Then he's in
No, Koba. Fire is basically the baby.
Koba. Okay.
Oh, did you guys see that? I didn't. I'm not sure who it was. Maybe it was VHC or somebody changed
No,
their name
more
to Wolf.
changed to Wolf. More.
Oh,
It
I've
was
been
More
trying
that
to
changed.
figure out who the
Okay.
heck Wolf was.
I didn't even.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
thought it
saw
was
it.
VHC for a sec, but then my guys corrected me and said no, it's More, and I was like, okay.
Because I saw they had the very best crew guy in the history of STFC Ice Forces was over there. I saw that on the roster, and I was like, wait, shit, who was he before?
Actually,
he was-
no, I know what happened because I was talking to Robert April about it one night. I totally forgot about this. I meant to tell you guys too. There was an issue with Ruby Rod, who is his co-admiral, because Moore and what was the Rising merged a few months ago for territory reasons, and Ruby Rod and April became co-admirals together of the joint alliance, and Ruby has some serious, mental issues or anger management issues, something like that. Basically, his fiance left him, and he went all batshit crazy and started kicking people from the alliance. Took over the Discord server, kicked Robert off of the Discord server, his own server, and basically they had he kicked Ruby out of the alliance. Ruby restarted more, but as Wolf, I guess, and they basically split the alliance up, and it was people who were following Ruby and people who were following Robert.
Jeez.
So that merge kind of ended roughly. I
Wow.
totally forgot about it. This is like 2-3 weeks ago.
Sid,
pretty
what do we
wild.
do with mutineers?
I always thought you shoot them, but
There's a plank involved or some shit, and TikTok crocodile or something. I don't know.
I wish
So
them luck
whoever
and hope
didn't
they
see
find
my-
someone who's a better fit.
Whoever didn't see my announcement about that STFC.space, have you guys checked that out yet?
I love it.
It's awesome.
It
It's
is
Yeah,
so much.
better than
I have to
It's
say,
so
I've
much
never used it
easier.
already.
I avoided LCARs like the plague. I never got anything out of it to help my game.
It's all command based, and a lot of
Yeah.
people don't operate well with that. This is browser based, so it's so much easier.
It wasn't
to use.
even so much as that. It was just the format of trying to like.
It looks so
Yeah,
much.
the look of it.
It's much
Yeah.
more user friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I
with you,
understand certain things
Danny. I never
more.
used it.
Well, I'm a programmer by trade, so I mean, Hellcars was pretty nice for me, but I can easily see why a lot of people had trouble with it because it's not a very approachable interface
No.
if you're not used to doing that kind of thing. And my problem with the what is that server, the Academy, is the other one that popped up. Every time I go in there and I do something in the Academy, I find shit that's just wrong, and so I really can't get behind that one either.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan. I've been using it a lot since it got put up. But
Same here.
The thing that makes the EFC.space one work so much better is Ripper actually has all the information that Fartasia was using for Elcars. He had the entire old database and all the new stuff, and he's working directly for Scopely now. So if he needs more information from things, Scopely will give it to him. They won't pay him shit, but they'll give him whatever information he needs for the website.
I'm sure they give him like a free battle pass or something, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
they're so cheap.
50% off the $20 pack, man. It's a deal. Come on, take it.
They'll get it from you somewhere else on the back end.
I sure will.
Yeah, I mean, even all their content creators, they all spend tons of money. I mean, it's nuts.
Well, they didn't used to. They used to be given a lot of shit. I mean,
Yeah.
DJ will even go and say the only reason his ships are as strong as they are, the only reason Rev Deuce's ships are as strong as they are, is because Scopely used to give them a boatload of materials and stuff for their ships and stuff, so that they can make content. So they kind of pay.
Well, and that right there, it hits at the heart of why I steady talk shit about Rev Deuce, because a lot of his advice is you have to contextualize it, especially in his earlier videos, because everything that he got was given to him, so he didn't have to go through the grind.
He made it look
have
so
to
much
feel the pain.
easier.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, here's the optimal thing, and everybody has it. So here you go. Here's your, everybody's got a max 5 of 10, right? Ha ha ha. And that's just not how it works. And that's why I've always I've always cautioned people. I'm like, hey, take that shit with a grain of salt, because he didn't have to come up through the game. He got everything handed to him up to a certain degree, and that really changes things. It's like, players with an unlimited budget, sure, they can follow his advice to a T, and a lot of it ends up being really good. But it completely glosses over, what a Ops 20 to 29 player goes through when they don't have all of those officer cards, when they don't have everything unlocked and max tiered. And, players that go out at 23 and 24 and try to use the crews that he was talking about and go, wait, this doesn't work for shit. Well, it's because yours is level 5 and he's talking about level 30, and that makes all the difference in the world. We just like with us, we talk about, oh, wow, Marcus and Kang and Charvanek, oh, they're so amazing. Yeah, but they sucked until you got them to 800%. Like, let's be real. They were worthless. They were backline officers for the longest time until you get them like at 400%, they're usable. By 800%, they're game changers. But at 100, 200%, they're dog shit.
Yeah.
And you got to contextualize it.
Yeah, I always noticed his screenshots of his officers page just said like max, like all the way across the board. And
When you're looking at a backline where every officer is 50K, well, of course, everything you do works. Like shit.
Yeah, but at the same time, you go and look at how he's playing these days, considering he's no longer given all that shit from Scopely, and that he's no longer able to spend the money that he would have been able to before. He's pretty much becoming a free-to-play grinder, and you can tell that. I mean, he's like 17 million in power. Yeah, he still has those max ships, but that's all he's got. His Kirk is not promoted to max tier. It's not at
So I'm
max
pretty
level.
sure. I'm pretty sure in a straight up fight, I could take anything he has at this point for exactly
You
that reason.
you actually could. His research is. I was watching his video the other day where he mentioned that he didn't even have summoning unlocked yet.
Which is ridiculous. Again, I
Yeah.
will repeat that.
I
Ridiculous.
I need him to punch himself in the face at like 60% power just for that right there.
He's not.
Like, are you shitting me?
He's still doing. He's still probably at respected with all three factions. You know, his game is pretty much stalled. He stretches himself out so thin, his gameplay is at a standstill.
That's the problem
He's also
with being,
grinding a few different accounts too. Which is crazy.
Yeah, he
wow,
does.
that's just the dumbest thing ever.
He's got like 5 different accounts.
I want to scold the hell out of anybody that has an alt account in this game. Like, you just can't progress running multiple accounts. I'm sorry.
Okay, so he has 5 accounts, all for researching at different levels. So I'll give him that. Each one is on different servers as well, so he can grab an audience from all the different servers. Like, whenever there's a new server that opens up, every few servers, he goes and starts an account on one of them, just as a way to start getting new people to start watching his videos. And then he's also seeing what additions Scopely puts into the new servers, new gameplay features and such. And then he'll do videos on them. Like, that's why everyone's talking about those photon particles, because it was in a new server that he joined.
Yeah.
And people have been talking about that since December. In 8 months, Scopely, where are they?
Well, they're doing marketing experiments on different servers.
Yeah,
you can't expect to just get something that they put on one server, because they structure the market different.
I mean,
take that a step further. Look at the way that Server 34 spends money. Scopely has absolutely no reason to give us any of the improvements that newer servers are seeing, because the spending on Server 34 is never going to slow down. These guys are dropping, 7, 8, 9 million points in jelly events. There's no fucking way they're going to do anything that's going to make it easier to access G3 mats or any of the rest of that on this server until everybody universally cuts off the goddamn, the faucet on the spending. Because as long as we have 120 players that are all willing to drop $1,000 at the drop of a hat every single time new content comes out, there's no fucking way we're going to see these photon particles. It's not going to happen, because it doubles the output of G3 for every single player on the server, which cuts off their cash flow. It's not going to happen here.
All of a sudden, people think, I don't need that
economics.
monthly pack anymore, that $100 monthly pack. Like, I can go without that this month. You know what I mean? Like, that's what the kind of stuff that would happen.
Yeah, but at the same time, because they're adding the new content on a monthly basis, every month they're putting something in there that's going to grab someone's attention and want them to do something. And to give you a perfect example, like I was saying at the beginning of this podcast, I burned through so much materials this month trying to get the shards and the leaderboards and the events for Riker and like the solo milestone for Picard the other day, that I'm, drained. I'm completely drained. I need more. You need more in there so that I can start working on, say, the next officer that I might want. They do so many of these spending materials, leaderboards for things that people want, that they need to be putting more into the game to make people feel like they have enough to compete, and then they're going to want to spend more money to be able to compete if they're short just the hair. I mean, I can tell you there were plenty of times when, I'm looking at this at an event or at a research or something, and I'm thinking, God, I'm like 20 short or 100 short of what I need. How can I get that? And I've gone through looking like spending Pringles or I've gone and turned in a 7-day chest or a 30-day chest. You want to scrounge for anything, and if you scrounge for anything and you're just that shy, and you don't have someone who's gonna look at you and give you the death stare if you spend any money, then you might go and spend some money, and that's where Scopely is gonna get you. So it actually,
Danny, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but I need you to come hang out at my house like once a week. Just tell me I need some of that death stare in my life.
We'll keep that in mind. We'll come visit you.
Like, I don't know if we got a FaceTime or whatever the hell it's going to take, but I mean, there are occasions where I'm just like, man, I need somebody to stop me right now, because I'm about to do some dumb shit, and I know it ain't going to work because there's 30 other dudes out there thinking exactly the same thing, and one of those guys is willing to spend just a little bit more than I am. The trick is, though, is you can't get caught chasing. I mean, that's really the answer to that whole thing. For us as individual players, you can't get caught chasing. And you have to keep in mind that when you're scrounging for that 20 mats or that 100 mats or whatever, there really are 30 other people on that leaderboard that are thinking the same thing. And that's why I preach to people like, pick your spots. I unlocked Picard earlier in the week or last week or whatever the hell it was, and I didn't place over 25 in any event at any point during this time. I've learned, especially in the higher ops brackets, and this isn't necessarily as true because our server's kind of old at this point. So for lower ops players, you don't have to do this as much when you're staying in your brackets. But for those of us who are competing anywhere like, 36 plus, you have to deal with this like it's a game of attrition. You don't go for that number one spot. It's not worth it. What you do is you go for that
right away.
Yeah, especially on the first run. Do not swing at the first run. You will lose. Somebody with a credit card and no reason not to spend it is going to beat you. Plain and simple. So you find that spot where you can save up. You can wait for the leaderboard that comes in the middle, where everybody spent their wad on the first one, and then there's the one in the middle that nobody wants to touch, and because they know there's a third one coming at the end of the arc or the end of the month or whatever, and they're saving up for that last one. So the middle one is off in the sweet spot, and you don't try to take top 10. Play the events to your favor. They're giving us these companion milestone events now, and that covers roughly 30-40% of the officers unlock. Place from 11 to 25 and get close. If you don't get full unlock right away, that's okay, because even if you're at 90% of unlock, you're going to get enough trickle in to be able to still unlock the officer without having to make the massive investment or get to the point that Cook's talking about where you've zeroed out everything trying to get this officer. I've watched, Pirate Yard worked his ass off in the first Picard event and came up short. I placed like 22 or 23 in the first Picard event, and then after that I just played the milestones and shit and eventually ended up at unlock. I did the same thing when the Terrans came out. I have Lorca, I have Giorgio, I have Burnham, I have TOS Kirk. I have all of these officers unlocked, and I didn't win a single leaderboard to do it. I just played the event currency. I made sure that I saved up enough and competed in the day-to-day events enough that I could hit just enough to unlock, and that's all I needed. Because now nobody has Lorca, and nobody's really got a real shot at getting him until they're over 40. So that puts me in an extreme advantage without ever having had to spend a ton of shit to do it. And you just chip away at it a little bit. It beats Scopely's system. It still gets you the things that you want. And it allows you to continue to compete with people who are dropping, $2,000-$3,000 a month on the game. Now, I'm not saying I don't spend some money to do it too, but I work really hard to spend wisely. The away teams pack that they were throwing out there, the away team speed up that came with a bunch of faction credits and all the rest of that, that's beautiful. I bought way more of those than I should have. But That
Oh, the
allowed
one
me
they
to
limit
maintain
one a day.
Yep.
They're
Yep.
limiting one a day now.
The limit
Yeah.
one per day. That is one of the best packs that they have ever put out in this game, in my opinion. You get like 70, 80K lat. You get, like a month's worth of speed ups, and then it also gives you like, what was it? 1,200 or something like that of each one of the faction credits when you bought it. That's a hell of a pack. But even that, you do it sparingly. I grab a couple and then I let it ride. I'm not zeroing out my away team missions. I'm just getting them under the timer. So if I have a 1 day mission, I don't spend 24 hours of speed ups on it. The clock resets every 12 hours, so I burn enough to get it down to 10 hours. And then when I wake up in the morning, all my away team missions are done. And, as of this point, I have, I don't know, 3 or 4 researches in my away team's tree that are not maxed. So I've spent some money to do it, but I'm not spending the $2,000, $3,000 a month that I'm watching some players do it to try and get all of it at once. You still got to take a long view with it to get your money's worth, I guess.
Are they even offering it? They're not even offering it to me right now.
It
I don't know.
it comes and goes. It comes and
Yeah.
goes.
But I was seeing it in there, and I was thinking that would be nice to have. But yeah, I don't buy packs like that. I just can't buy packs like that. I should say. I would like to.
Yeah,
Definitely would like to.
I think
But
that's true for everybody. Like we can always look at somebody that spends ahead of us and go, man, I'd love to be able to do that. But
yeah, it's
but
like
then again, I don't really spend money on myself on much of anything else. I do this. So
and like the slap in my face that I got when I got the Enterprise finally. To realize how long it's going to take before it actually becomes a ship that like really kicks ass, like those Enterprises that come and crack your base like every once in a while,
yeah,
like it takes such a long
yeah,
time to get that Enterprise there. Like, so if you're
it is
getting
a
there to 34,
staggering amount of
like,
mats.
yeah, and you're like, I'm finally going to get the Enterprise, you're just going to have an empty shell. Like, it's not going to really get you very far. Like your first couple of tiers, even at tier 4, it's not that great of a ship.
Yeah, I hear it's not until it's like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
My rule of thumb with any ship, regardless of what level the ship is, whether it's the 26, 28 faction ships, the 32s and the 34s, any ship in this game, what I've seen is that tier 6 is when it really becomes what you think it's going to be when you first get that ship.
Oh yeah.
And that's I treat all of my ships accordingly. Like my Enterprise does not come out. It's only tier 4. I don't use it that often. I mean, it's useful in its spots because I'm 39 and my research is well fleshed out and my officers are strong. But even at tier 4, I know that rolling it out against a player that's been at 39 for 8 months longer than I have, I'm gonna get my ass kicked, and I know it. It's just the reality. And that holds true all the way up and down. I hear mid 40s players talking about your 42 ships. They don't really hit their stride until guess what, tier 6. They're big and scary. For those of us who are sub 40, we see that 8-9 million Valdor come rolling out. We're like, oh shit! But in comparable ops range, a player with a T6 ship coming up to that, 8-9 million Valdor is rolling 12 million and dusts it 3-4 times before they have to repair. It holds true all the way up. As far as I can tell, the tier 6 is the sweet spot. And why is it tier 6? Because of the number of
Crew
lower
slots.
deck officers you can put on it. It's once you get
that
that 4th officer slot.
Yeah, that's when you can get all your crew stats and your bonuses up to where they need to be.
Yeah, because
And of course,
it's not just hitting that 300% in all of your categories, but it's having that last officer, that 4th officer that allows you to really power through whatever crew you're trying to build. So if I have a health-based officer crew, All of my abilities on the bridge are based off of my raw health score. It's that fourth officer that really puts that shit over the top. 3 officer slots. Yeah, I can hit 300% on all of my ships with 3 slots, but it's barely.
Just barely.
I throw that 4th officer in there, and all of a sudden the raw score that I need to make my bridge crew effective. Now I can really pump that number up, and I can throw a 4th officer in there that really ramps up that health. So now, Charvanek is hitting her stride, Jokey is hitting his stride, and I'm through the roof on my penetration on my auger. You can't do that in almost all cases until you get to that 4th slot. Tier 6 is the way. Oh, hold on.
By the way, don't go to 40 until you're sure you're ready for it.
And have some resources.
Yes, definitely. Dilithium is so expensive to get. It's so hard to get, and you need so much of it. Sid, I might need to come by your station again.
I loaned Cook some dilithium because he asked so nicely.
Oh, you let him drain your base?
Not completely, but
No, it was just for an hour. He offered more, but I said no. I'm not going to be greedy. I'll just raid you for an hour. And I even did a timer to make sure I did it. And the second I hit the timer, I said, okay, that's it. Although the next day,
so hard sometimes.
It's so bad.
I like how Sid used the word loan.
I told you I was raiding the other day.
You did tell me that, and I judged you hard as hell for that because you said it. You were like, "Oh no, a friend let me raid his base for an hour." I was like, "What? What?"
I pulled an Africanus.
We're supposed to be a raiding alliance. We're supposed to go out and raid.
Yes, well, not all of us are insomniacs like you, Drift, and can go around at 3 morning draining bases.
Lately, I've been saving up reload tokens, so I haven't been doing a lot of raiding.
Yes, now that I have the jelly, I can save up reload tokens. I was down to about 40 reload tokens from 120 when I got to 39 and started moving my base every day.
I love PvP so much that during the war with 13, I got down to 0 reload tokens and stayed there for like a week.
Oh my god.
I was like, I can't even move. I can't go anywhere. This is hell.
I haven't been there since I was in my Black Ops days when I would just go around raiding the hell out of people. You remember that, right, Danny? Yeah. It was 2 of us, and I'd go around and I'd be like, "Oh shit, I'm out of reload tokens," and she'd laugh at me and be like, "How much? You had what, like 50?
You were cracking stations and had the long distance raid."
So my brother plays on server 30, and we compare all the time because he started the game about probably 4 or 5 months before I did, and I have passed him and kind of left him in my dust. We're both 39, but he just got there about 2 months ago, so I'm already looking at moving to 40, and he's still kind of catching up. A lot of my research is way ahead and stuff, and he is a hoarder. He spends nothing that he absolutely does not have to. So when we're discussing what goes on 30 and versus what goes on 34 and what the differences and everything, it's really a lot of fun conversations. But he opens up his items page while we're at war with 13, and I'm at 5 reload tokens left or something ridiculous. And this asshole's got like 950 fucking reload tokens.
Oh my god! I'm already pissed.
Oh my god, it's ridiculous. He's currently saving up for his jelly event because on their server it only goes to about 5 million for first place win, and he's sitting on something like 35,000 or 40,000 G3 mats right now. And I looked him dead in the eyes the other day, and I'm like, bro, we just live in different worlds, man. Like, there's no
Seriously.
way I can be that patient.
I have a person
No
who doesn't
way.
read at all, and they have so many reload tokens, and they will never use them. And they're always like, I wish I could give it to you. I'm like, me too.
Like, I also wish that. Thank you.
I wish we could give away blueprints.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, gosh.
Because we're supposed to be getting that.
You get a horizon. Everybody gets a horizon.
We're supposed to be getting another building, apparently, and everyone wants it to be a marketplace, but there's no way.
When this game launched, it originally had a building slot for a marketplace, and it even said marketplace available, Alliance marketplace available at level 50, which meant there was a bunch of buildings that said available at Ops 50 because they just hadn't finished the buildings yet. And so they were just doing that since you couldn't get to Ops 50 because the max was Ops 39 at the time. They hadn't gotten to 40 plus. And then when they did open the game up to level 50, they got rid of all those.
I remember when the buildings disappeared and we were all like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
when you tap on it, it doesn't say anything anymore.
Exactly. And it's just like, that they don't want us to have an Alliance marketplace because that'll probably mean less money to spend. People will spend because they're giving each other things. But at the same time, it's what are you doing with all these blueprints? Why not let people like turn in blueprints for something so that they can, get rid of something that they don't need and get something that they do need to help them progress? Because let's face it, Scopely wants everyone to get into the G4 economy because if they can get the G4 economy to be as populous as the G3 economy is, it'll make it more sense for when they go and launch the G5 economy, which they will be doing soon enough and opening up the game to level 65 or 70 something because they already have G5 researches for the level 50s that they have to do, prime researches and other regular researches that require G5, but there is no G5, so they have to go and buy the packs for that stuff. But it's no different than how things were before the game opened up to level 50. They're trying to make the progression to 39 easier, the progression to 40 easier. They want the G4 economy to be easier so that more people are willing to go into it and to get up there. Because as long as you need to put a second mortgage on your house to get a Tribune, very few people overall in this game are going to get there.
If you look, they're not letting new people in. They're not letting new people on the server either. Very few, and so they're probably all some people with transfer tokens. But if you look at some of the lower systems, they're not populated with like a bunch of level 14 and 15 bases. Like you don't see that anywhere. So they're obviously angling for people to be in that economy.
What they want to do is they know people are going to quit the game eventually. But they do want people to be spending more and to get into higher brackets. And then they also are going to go merging these servers more so that by the time everyone's up there, they're all still kind of staying equal to each other. Because I think they feel that people don't want to go joining a game that's going to be like EVE Online or EVE Echoes, where you're a newbie competing against someone who's been playing for 5 years, and there's no way you're ever going to catch up to them. So by having the separate servers, it's kind of a way to keep people from that young separated from people that old. But they're also making it much easier to get up there than it was for the people that got up there first. We all remember how hard it was to get to level 30. Now getting to level 30 is like getting level 20. Level 20 for us felt like forever. And we were afraid to go beyond 20, some of us. But we're like, go to 20. Hurry it up.
So I have a player, Sinwar. I swear to God, like, honest truth, he was at level 18 for 2 years. He never never progressed. And we always asked him, we're like, dude, like, what's the deal? And he's like, I don't want to go any higher. And finally, after 2 years, he decided that 30 was the next thing that he was going to sit at for 100,000 years. And he bumped up to 30, and now he's like, yep, I'm going to be here for a while. But he started playing the game shortly after it came out and quickly got to 18, and he was like, he was one of the original members of what Dread came out of. It was the original Borg alliances. There was like 2 or 3 of them, and Dread was the like feeder alliance, so to speak, and he was part of that. And then when Borg split up and all that other stuff, we kind of went our own way and made Dread. But yeah, he's been in the game for almost since its creation and was at level 18 forever. Like within the last 3 weeks is from when he went to 18 to 30. We thought he quit for the longest time because he would just pop in once in a while. But then all of a sudden we saw him go to 19 and then 25, and we're like, holy shit, he's alive.
Yeah, but there's this people that are afraid of being in the 20s because you're the most vulnerable there, or at least you were at one time, to be rated and that sort of thing. People were afraid
I think
of
that's
getting
still
rated.
true. I think it's
Well,
still true. I think the 20s are still the most vulnerable by far. I mean, your lower 30s is also a really dangerous time, I think, for a lot of people. But that what is it, 24 to 26 range? That shit's scary. I mean, I got through that as fast as I could. I was like, nope, I am not sitting here, guys.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's still
same.
pretty easy. But I can't
But
leave my shield.
don't worry,
Even
Tom and MM, you guys are gonna have a fun time there. Don't worry.
you just got to keep bubbled. That's just the basic fact of it.
Yeah,
I know this has been said at other times, but I mean, even in Kuwait, the big bad level 50 of the server, the biggest, highest power player in the game, dude stays bubbled all the time. I mean, that's just a fact of life. It doesn't matter what ops level you are. I can sit here and I can watch, 42, 43, 44 players bounce off of my base. I can have Grazi, come and bounce a ship off of my base and live through it. But nobody here is paying attention if you think I want that fight and that I'm going to sit here and taunt the man. I mean, I will a little bit because I'm a dick, but, I'm only doing that under controlled circumstances because I know if I give him a second hit without me being online, I'm proper fucked and it's over. It's over. So, we can play the game a little bit with some of the big ships and stuff, but the fact of life is that, once you progress past, say, Ops 22, your shield is the most important thing going on there. I mean, you either be online or be shielded. That's everybody's reality. It's just that the rest of us up here, we've done it long enough. We're jaded. We don't think about it anymore. The fear is gone. We also realize how easy it is to be able to get that shit back.
Pam's OPL hunting.
Get some.
Just getting some lat.
Get the blood, get the gold.
Good job getting that lat.
On that note, we have gone an hour over our allotted time. Drift's going to get really angry when he has to go and edit this.
Don't worry. I know
parts where Tiger
what
started talking and then just cut.
Hey guys,
honestly, we should
time.
have started when you started talking, and we were like, "Hey, this is going so well. Let's go an extra hour."
Yeah. It was all by design.
It was all Tiger's fault.
That probably sounds true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you guys for coming.
Not supposed to agree so easy.
Have a great night. See everyone next week, and keep enjoying the game. And let's see what this new arc's gonna be like. That'll be launching in the morning.
Yep.
Much love and
Exciting.
exploding pixels.
Good night, all.
Good
night.
night.
Back to mining my
See
ISO.
ya.